Hi everybody, Colin Stevenson here, joined by my hero and sensei, John Lenhart. Hi John.
Hi.
Today we are talking about our second last intangible driver how, which is administrator how. Now, John and I spoke earlier on and I was explaining to him that I don't find many of these, and maybe it's because they're so hard to find. John, would you believe that it's hard to find, or do you believe that it's just that they are pretty rare?
I think they're hard to find because I don't think they're out and around. I think what you're going to see is that they get in a lot of trouble because administrator how, remember, if you go back, there's the why, which is the effect you want to have on other people. And we covered administrator why, which was you get in the right spot. The how is what the person actually does. So when a person does the administrating, they tend to be someone who's planning in private or shoving people around, which they get in a lot of trouble for shoving people around. So we don't see a lot of administrator hows because their job either isolates them with data and planning, or we don't like to be around them because of how they interact with us.
That's amazing. So we spoke about the administrator why before, and this was when I was speaking about the lazy people that kind stand back and allow people to do the work, and then it looks as if they are doing something by delegating and things. Now, because that's their why, that's how they're perceived, it's not what they actually do. And this is where the difference is between the how and the why. Now, if people look at the intent behind administrator hows, I would think they would understand that they're just trying to get the job done. But people like myself, like Compassion Server, without knowing the intent behind it, they would take that personally and look as if this person's trying to force people to do things, which they kind of are, but kind of not at the same time.
Right, so let's go through the 7 whys with this administrator how to see what this looks like, because I think it will really illustrate this. So perceiver administrator, what that means is that they move people around in order for you to be aware of something. There's 2 great examples of this. One is Jim Halpert in The Office, the American version. He's a trickster. If you think about what he does is he moves all these things around. He does all these practical jokes. He puts, the stapler in Jell-O. He coordinates all these people and things, and then when it happens, he looks at the camera. Did you see that? So a perceiver administrator is fun to watch him prank other people. He's not a good friend to have. Perceiver administrator would upset you. And there's a very famous musical artist who's perceiver administrator. In fact, it's kind of interesting because that artist says, no one knows me. And in fact, there was an interview, I think, years and years ago with George Harrison asking him, do you know him? And he said, well, I think it would be, ridiculous for anybody to say they know him. And the issue is, I know him. He's perceiver administrator, but it's so unusual. Do you know who that is?
No, I can't think.
He won the Nobel Prize.
Oh, no.
Bob Dylan.
Oh, no way. Right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Bob Dylan is perceiver administrator. So you listen to these songs and the administrator is telling you about all these people. He's got all these like Highway 61 Revisited stuff. He's telling the story of all these different people. He's administrating in words. He's moving all these people around in words, but he wants you to be aware of some symbolism. And so the thing you're aware of is kind of hidden. He's telling me all this stuff, moving all these people around. Maggie's Farm's a great song about that, where he's just telling you why he doesn't want to be on Maggie's Farm anymore. But it's like, he's painting this picture of all these people and things are moving around, but he's got a bigger message, usually an anti-war or another message underneath it that you can't really see. So that's why there's a guy right in front of us, but it's really, he will walk around and go, no one gets me. No one understands me. I'm so unusual. No one understands me.
The song The Hurricane about the boxer. My goodness, what you've just said to me has just changed the whole song for me. It's changed the whole song. I felt the words because compassion, I feel the way it's meant to make me feel. I understand about the wrong blame and the racism and all the things that go underneath. But now I understand the story better. It's just changed it. Thank you.
Right. So teacher, administrator. I'm administrator, teacher. I'm an administrator. Why? One of those lazy people you talked about. And teacher. So that's like Wonka or Morpheus. Teacher administrator is House, the TV show House. Hugh Laurie plays this character who's teacher administrator. The teacher why wants to solve a problem. The administrator has to work with people. So there's 2 great episodes where he loses his team. In one episode, he tells a janitor to wear a doctor's coat and act like a doctor. In the other episode, he's flying in an airplane. He picks 3 passengers and he does his differentials with them. They have no medical background and he solves it. But this smartest, one of the smartest guys in the world is the way House is made out to be. Is based on Sherlock Holmes, who was teacher perceiver, but this is teacher administrator, because what they did was, what if Sherlock Holmes could only solve mysteries through other people, but he didn't get along with people? That's the conflict in that story. He's not able, the smartest guy in the world can't solve anything unless people are around. That's that administrator how. So that's what teacher administrator looks like.
Mega. That's mega. So would Columbo be the same?
Columbo was he was teacher perceiver, and right, he's so good with the one more question, and doing that. But yeah, that's that way. So compassion administrator is a really good director.
Okay.
You move to administrator. A lot of what you're doing, you do all the work with this podcast. You're doing the editing yourself at the time. You're administrating. You are actually doing administration. So you are moving that to administrators. So a lot of compassion administrators can end up being really good directors. Compassion administrator. Okay, so administrator, giver administrator. These are really good project managers. They want to make something better. And they coordinate a group to make something better. They're not trying to solve a problem. They're trying to make something better.
Yeah, right. Okay. So in terms of making something better, do they become pushy when they're doing this? Is that why when we get a building site manager and they're not friendly towards people because they have to bark orders, because if they don't and they become close, the staff then become lazy? And it's very similar to the army as well.
Right, and that's where you see these administrator houses, they bark orders and they're bossy. So a lot of times when you have somebody in a very bossy position, again, how often do you get in touch with the boss, especially as you move up the ladder? It's rarer. But these people are really bossy and pointing people around and doing things. That's administrator how. We already covered the server administrator, and I talked about Vince Lombardi, or I talked about Bill Belichick. These people get in a lot of trouble because they boss people around and no one remember the server why. You don't know why they're doing it. There's 7 different reasons. So people end up getting burnt out on server administrators because they never know why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love this one.
So administrator is really rare. And the one example I've seen of this is Cuddy, Dr. Cuddy from the House episode. Her and House end up dating, and it's because she's administrator, House is teacher administrator, so they meet administrator. Cuddy administrates to administrate. One of the issues with that character is that it kind of seemed one-dimensional, and I think the issue they had is they had a woman be an administrator of a hospital, which is unusual. And so what they want to do is they want to show that, they want to represent a woman in this important position. And a lot of times what they do is they would never really give her a weakness. Right. They don't want to make this woman in charge look like she has a weakness. So you never saw her being perceiver administrator or compassion administrator. You definitely weren't going to see her being compassion administrator. You weren't going to see her being giver administrator, and you even weren't going to see her being server administrator, because that actually would have made her smarter than house.
Right, okay.
So she wasn't going to do that, and she was definitely not exhort administrator. And really the only place you can land with her is administrator. Why is she moving people around? To move them around. And so that makes that character look not completely three-dimensional.
Right, okay. So she was moving around for moving around's sake, as opposed to there's a definite reason for this going to happen.
A personal reason.
Right, okay.
It never looked like she had a personal reason for moving anything around. She was there to represent the hospital. So she's moving people around for the sake of the hospital. So she's kind of administrating the hospital by administrating the people. So there was no personal, she never had a personal agenda.
Right, okay.
And then finally, exhorter administration. And this is really, really tough. Ideally, these people would be team builders. They have all this energy and they're moving you around so you have more energy. I want to move you around so you have more energy. So exhorter administrator is, that looks great on paper. The problem is exhorter is infinitely forward.
Yeah.
Administrator's forward. And a lot of times kids who have this exhorter administrator, they want everybody to feel what they're feeling. And if they don't, they start shoving people. Yeah. And a lot of the kids I deal with are exhorter administrator or administrator exhorter, which we'll talk about next time, is because their brain works so fast, and exhorters imagine and get forward. And the exhorter part of them in the why sees something 5 steps ahead. And then the administrator goes, well, let's make it happen now, not tomorrow, now. And the only way they can make it happen is they just start shoving kids around, pushing kids around, or they start making choices and they'll just take off. I can't tell you that when I show up at a school and they tell me, yeah, this kid takes off. He just gets up out of class and takes off. I'm like, administrator, exhorter, administrator. I immediately, the kid is one of those two things, because they have to be in charge and they're trying to look for something to excite them. And it's not in the classroom, so it's somewhere else.
And that's mega that you say that, because I have had a few bosses throughout my career that have been like that. And they'll come in and they'll be so excited and so pumped for the day. And if they're not saying something that's triggering everybody in the room to allow them to feel it, that they just start going, do you know what? I'm sick of this. I just want this to be done. And they start slamming and they start, right, just get that done. Just get that. And you're like, whoa, where did this come from? So it makes complete sense the way that you've just explained that. So it's not actually them. It's because we are not pumped because it's first thing in the morning, or because we are maybe feeling something from somebody else. Like for me, for my energy to be high, I need to know that everyone's happy and everything's balanced, and I don't need to take something from somebody to make, to gain me energy, and I need to know that they're all good. So when I come in the morning, I need to feel it. So I totally understand in terms of the exhorter administrator and just why they just can go from, it's like a switch.
Right. And the thing is this is the last thing I'll say about this, is that whenever I come into a room and the room's destroyed, that's a good exhorter administrator. If you think about it, the exhorter wants you to feel what they're feeling. And if they're agitated and you don't show agitation, if you talk calmly to them, then they're more agitated. And now they want you to feel agitated, and they do it through their administrator. And so they move everything around. They'll take stuff and move chairs, knock things over, throw things, and they will destroy the room until you feel it as the way they feel it, until you're as frustrated as them. And so that's why it's like understanding how to run your brain and understanding their exhorter why, and understanding you need to talk to them agitated. You not talking to them agitated caused them to have to destroy the room to get you to feel what they're feeling. So this exhorter administrator, it's really important for parents who have a kid like this to really understand how to talk with them. I say the conjunctive on exhorter administrator is really, really thin. You got to get them right in the right spot, because the slightest thing moves them one side to the other, and then here we go.
Yeah, just before I say goodbye, my aunt is just how you described there. And my mother is the one that remains completely calm through any storm. And this just happened not very long ago, actually. And they both wonder why it is they don't go on. So I am actually going to send them both a test tonight. And then I'm going to send them both the videos that we can do for anybody that reaches out. And I'm going to allow them to see where their relationship can come together and become stronger. So it's fantastic.
Awesome.
Thank you. And thank you so much for your time again. I'm looking forward to next week. I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, bye.